Memorial Stadium this Saturday. A couple of notes for this group. One, this morning you all should have received a ballot for this year's Tim Beret Award, which goes to the player who best represents himself, Clemson football and Clemson University through the media. So we appreciate your votes on that so we can honor them at our banquet in January. Today's press conference format, Coach Swinney will have some opening comments, then we'll go to questions in the room, and if time permits, we'll go to questions virtually at the end. Reminder that this is being streamed by Clemson Plus as well as our partners at WCCP-FM and Fox Carolina. So if you could, please speak up for the benefit of our listening audience. Coach, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right, thanks, Ross. Good morning, everybody. Well, excited the week's finally here. This is always a fun week. You get the rivalry game, back on the national stage, and that's what we got this week. So, it's fun to be a part of it. I think Shane's done an outstanding job. He and his whole staff. I mean, they're playing with a ton of confidence. Coming in here with a 5-game winning streak. They're 8-3, and really they're 5 points away from being 10-1. So it's a really good football team. Offensively they've gotten better and better. The quarterback as a first-year starter has just like our guy last year. You saw Cade get better as the season went. That's what you've seen with Sellers. But as good a 1-2 combination as you're going to see out there with he and the running back, really create a lot of problems running the football. I mean, they do a great job in executing their scheme. I think the OL has the same thing. They've had some new people this year. They've gotten better on this 5-game winning streak as they've moved forward. Playmakers have emerged. Their receivers, they had some new pieces there the early part of the season, and those guys have really come on. I mean, 6 and 8 and 14 and 3, all those guys are making plays, big-bodied guys. So I just think they've done a nice job, and really, schematically and just improving throughout the year. And again, they are playing right now to me as well as anybody, playing with a ton of confidence, and again, executing at a high level. And playing with a lot of belief. And then defensively, I think it's as good as we've seen. I mean, they're a great defense. A lot of this is pretty much mostly the same guys that we played against last year. Those guys have been around there forever inside. And they got one new backer in there. Pretty much the same secondary guys. But them two ends are a problem. Those guys have really created some destruction on that side. The Kennard kid, I believe that's how you say it. He 5, great player. He's leading them in sacks and TFLs, and the young freshman is second, right behind him. So 2 very disruptive guys. They all play hard. They run to the ball. So it's a good football team, across the board, and it should be a heck of a game. It should be a great game, and again, it's great for. I think our state and this rivalry to have, it's the highest ranked rivalry game in college football this year. So it's a great stage for both schools, and look forward to competing in it. Any questions? Got Grace here today.
What's up?
Sporting a ring. You married?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I thought you'd given up on us.
No, I just moved.
You moved on up to bigger and better things. And, must be a big game. They got Grace down here. So
a lot of Sellers' success comes when the play breaks down. He's able to get out of the pocket, defenders bounce off of him. How dangerous have you seen him be when he's able to create?
Real dangerous. I mean, you don't have to go back very far than the Missouri game, right? I mean, that game's probably over if they sack him. I mean, it'd have been, I can't remember if that was second or third down, but it would have been like, 3rd and 100. And somehow he gets out of that sack and finds an open guy, and it's a huge play. That's what he does. That's today's game, I mean, if you don't have a quarterback who can make plays like that, you're at a disadvantage. That's what everybody's trying to find and recruit, is guys that can on paper, you got them, but you don't. And that's kind of who he is. I mean, he can really make a lot of plays. And they obviously their scheme is gonna accentuate his skills between he and that running back. I mean, it's they got a lot of quarterback counter, a lot of swap zone, a lot of influence swap zone with option, kind of like what we saw last week with the dive and the tight end coming across with the bluff out to block, and then he's pulling it if the end squeezing, and now he's on the edge, and he's got an option guy. It's a lot going on, and then when he does drop back, a lot of play action off of that, a lot of boots, a lot of RPOs, a lot of screen game. But when he does drop back, if you don't cage him up and he gets on the edge, you better cover those guys forever, because he creates a lot of big plays. Again, throwing it and running it. I mean, and he's just I think he's a really good player, and he seems like a great kid. He seems like a great leader, and you can kind of see that in how the guys play around him. So he's a problem. He's a real problem.
As you mentioned, Missouri had an opportunity for a sack. How hard is it to get him on the ground from what you've seen just overall? Yeah. And is it just because he's just strong and just big, strong dude?
Yeah, he's 242 pounds and can really run. I mean, he's fast. He's big. He's a big kid. So it's just hard to tackle him. I mean, he doesn't go down easy. And this is 6'3", 242 pounds, and can run the way he runs. I mean, and by the way, he's got something on his right shoulder here that can rip it down the field while he's running. I mean, it just puts a lot of pressure on you. So that's why they've had a lot of success. They got a great quarterback play and a great run game. And when you have that, you got a chance to be successful when you can play good defense. That's how we've won around here forever. Being able to run the ball, great quarterback play, and being really good on defense. So he's just physically a very gifted young man, big, strong, and can break tackles. He's got the physical strength, and he's just gained his confidence, as he's gone through the year, and he's gained some experience. He's not a first-year starter at this point. I mean, he's in game 12.
How would you kind of grade how the offensive line has done in kind of these mismatched groups last few weeks, and how do you feel about the health of stuff this week?
They've done outstanding. We've won. We're 3-0 with a hodgepodge. So, I mean, they've just all stepped up. I mean, like I said, Blake Miller hasn't played left tackle since high school, and all of a sudden he's had to go and start and play, 2 basically full games at left tackle. It's been good. Trent Howard has really saved us. He's come through for us once again. I guess he's just our November savior. It's two years in a row he's had to really step up. Harris Sewell, same thing. But we came into this season really feeling great about our depth. I mean, we felt, and it's come through for us. I mean, we needed it. I mean, because we looked at the 5 guys that started the season, and Sadler and Harris and Trent is guys that have all starter experience, and that wasn't even counting Linthicum. So it's really saved us, that type of depth, because we're not just feeling. I mean, these guys have played and they got experience. Harris started some games last year, got a ton of experience. Obviously, Trent and his experience last year helped his confidence. The biggest challenge was at tackle, and then especially with, because we felt really good about tackle, so we played Mason earlier in the year, and then we're down to 1 game, so trying to hold him to give us another good option. So they've done a nice job.
I guess Marcus has been out a couple games, but do you still feel comfortable with him playing tackle if he were to be available, or would you like Marcus Tate?
Oh, Marcus. Oh, yeah. Marcus, absolutely. He played left tackle, right tackle, left guard, right guard. I trust Marcus totally. I mean, he would have been our first move had he been available. Was that, Virginia Tech when Tristan went down. So, I mean, that'd have been the first move. He'd have been out there, and boom, we'd have put Harris in there, but didn't have him.
Where are they first? Where's Tristan at as far as this week?
Tristan and Marcus are trending in a good spot, but as we sit right here today, I feel pretty good about them. But Tuesdays, Wednesday practices, I mean, you got to go practice, and especially those guys because they've been out a couple games. I mean, so we got to go compete today, and so hopefully we can get through these next couple practices and be ready to go. But they got to go do it these next couple days. But trending in a good spot.
What you would ask, I guess, guess where would you say he's at?
He's better. Same thing. He's just gotten better and better. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. But it just took long time to loosen up to where he could even walk. And then how it drained in his leg, it just set him back with all the fluid and stuff. But he actually was able to practice yesterday, and he should get better each day. He should be getting a little bit better as he's able to run around now and move around, but still not 100%, but he was able to practice.
Dabo, I'm from Ohio, so I'm very comfortable with the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. That's kind of what I grew up on. But being
Which one
here,
are you?
Huh?
Which one are you?
Ohio State. Well,
Okay.
technically Michigan State, but that's
Okay.
a long story.
Okay.
But so coming here and like covering this rivalry for the past 3 years, I've really kind of understood the difference in this one. And I was wondering if you could share an experience or like a moment that kind of showcases the intensity and the difference of this rivalry.
From Ohio State, Michigan?
Yeah, or from other rivalries.
I mean, you know, I've only been. I mean, I was in the Alabama-Auburn game. I was a player or coach in 13 of those, but I grew up in the state. So my first 18 years of life, you know, from the time I could even know what was going on, you know, it was Roll Tide, and you had to pick a side, and you know, it was a very heated rivalry, and you just lived and died with it, you know, every year, and you just hated to go back to school if you lost, and you know, and you couldn't wait to go if you won. You know, that's just kind of how I grew up, and then all of a sudden I'm a part of it, and that was just a real dream come true for me, to play in those games, to coach in those games. It's fun when you win. It's brutally painful when you lose, but man, it's awesome to be in the fight. It's awesome to be a part of it and to know what that experience feels like. And so that rivalry is very similar but different as well. But for me personally, you know, when I came to Clemson, and I've said this many times, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never lived anywhere but Alabama. I was 33 when I moved here, and I'd never lived anywhere but Alabama. That's all I knew. And when I came up here, I figured out pretty quick that, okay, well, this is just like being back at home, because when I was at Alabama and you're recruiting that state, just like here, you're recruiting this, there's no pro sports. It's all about high school football and college football. And you're either one or the other. And it's just, and you hear about it every day, and it affects everything, families, you name it. It's like, oh, you go for Auburn, okay. You know, it's just always that. And when I came up here and I put a Clemson shirt on, and people don't even know who the heck I am. They don't know anything about me. And I'd go to my first school, you know, in my recruiting area, and man, oh, it's Clemson. They don't even know me. You know, they just see the logo. Well, I'm like, well, this is going to be just like back at home. And and then you go to other places, and it's like, oh my God, Clemson's here. Same thing. They don't know me, but they're excited because I'm wearing a Clemson logo. So I just think that was very natural for me when I came up here to be a part of it. Very natural. No pro sports. Man, it's just, you know, I think it's very similar from that standpoint. But there is an intensity in this game that is I think, unique. I mean, it really is. So, you know, we're not in the same conference. Alabama-Auburn's in the same conference. They were in the same division forever, right? But it's bragging rights. That's what it comes down to. But it means a lot to the people in this state, and you live with it. Every game is personal, you know. But I've never had many people walk up to me in a grocery store and say, you know, hey, I can't believe you lost to Pittsburgh, you know, or whatever. But you lose to the Gamecocks, you're going to hear it every day, and vice versa. And that's just the way it is. So that's why it's a rivalry game. And it goes back a long time. It's one of the oldest out there. This is my it's my 22nd season at Clemson, but it's my 21st Clemson, South Carolina game because we didn't play in 20. So, you know, got a lot of great moments. Got some bad ones too. You know, we lost to them 5 times in a row one time. That was a brutal stretch. You know, we were a good team. They were a good team, and you know, so you just you keep battling, and we've been able to win some as of late, and hopefully we can find a way to win it this week. And this week is national implications. And I think that's probably the other difference. The Alabama-Auburn game, in my background, always had a little bit more of national implications than this game has had from a national standpoint. But that's different this year. This is the game that's got a lot of national implications. That one down there is just going to be bragging rights. So this one's got a lot of national noise to it. So should be an awesome environment, and two really good teams that have had really good years that all want to win, and we've got to find a way to get it done.
How do you handle that with your team? Obviously, they're going to know this, but do you talk about it? Do you mention it at all? And then, you don't have to look too far back to say, hey, 2 years ago, we were kind of in this spot, and they knocked us out.
They sure did. Sure did. You got to do the things it takes to win. That's what you focus on. You don't focus on outcomes. You focus on what you got to do to get those outcomes. And if you go back to that game 2 years ago, we're 144-4 when we have a lead into the fourth quarter since 2011. Well, and you go, well, what were those four you lost? Well, it was the national championship was one of them in 2015. One of them was this game. One of those four was this game right here. We had a fumbled punt return. We had a fumbled kick return. Lost 2 possessions, and you end up getting beat by 1 point. So, hey, man, you got to do what winning requires. That's what I always tell these guys. I mean, we got a plan to win, and if you look at the times that we've won, you can even like the 5-game stretch that we lost 5 in a row. Turnover margin was 15-3. Well, that's a recipe of getting beat. 15 turnovers to their 3. We lost in 13. We were better than them in 13. We had 6 turnovers. 6. And still had a chance to win. That's the famous, Spurrier call, when he called me like, I don't know why y'all turn that ball over against us. Y'all don't ever y'all just turn it over. I don't know why. I'm like, no crap. I don't know why either. So that was it was a famous moment. Sunday call from Spurrier. But that's been the key. I mean, to win games like this, you got to win the turnover margin. That's what it comes down to. That's what championship football comes down to. And you got to win the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to run the football, because that's how you create explosives. That's how you minimize explosives. And then you got to find a way to make a difference in special teams. And if you look at the game last year, that's how we won last year. We won the special teams. We made a bunch of field goals. We ran the ball effectively, and we were able to, stop the run. And again, we scored on defense. So that's really what you talk about. You talk about what you have to do to win. Now, they all know all the, the outcome stuff and all that, and what the game means. So you don't even have to really. They know. I mean, they all know. You don't have to tell them that. We got to get a good plan, and we got to focus on what it takes to win. Good execution, being on the same page, communication, playing with the type of effort, intensity, and aggressiveness that it requires, to do the type of execution that you need. Everybody doing their job, so that's what it comes down to.
And continuing on that theme, though, with this game having national implications, pressure in this game, how much do you embrace that notion that pressure is a privilege?
Oh, it is. I've always said that. I mean, listen, this is what we signed up. It's normal for me. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Again, I was in 13 Alabama-Auburn games. Trust me, I know what that feels like. All right, to win and lose, and then I'm on 21st Clemson, South Carolina game. I know what it feels like. So I love it. I love being in the fight. I love it. I love the fact that y'all are gonna write horrible things about us on Sunday if we stink this up. That's okay. It comes with it. It's what we signed up for. And I love the fact that we may not even play good, but we find a way to win. We're gonna be great, right? Like, it just comes with it. That's what you sign up for. It's a rivalry game. I got a lot of respect for how hard all these kids work, how hard all these coaches work. I know how it impacts people's lives. People lose jobs with games like this, right? Like, it's just the way it is. But I love that. I've always said that, I try to get our guys, don't ever let the pressure of the moment be greater than the pleasure of the moment, right? Like, this is fun. Like, we're getting to play football at the highest level, and I love that. And I think sometimes when that's what being inside out is all about, Man, it's just what we get to do. And, man, we should be. It is a privilege, for sure, to be able to experience, the highs and the lows of a game like this.
You mentioned South Carolina's defense, Dabo. Just how much of what they've been able to do this year stems from the incredible pass rush they've got, particularly on the edges?
Yeah, they haven't had to bring a lot of pressure because they've been able to get it with those four guys. So they've just created a ton of problems for everybody. So you better have a plan for them. You got to help out some, with those guys. Everybody's chipping them and all that type of stuff to give you a little bit more time. The clock's ticking quick, when that ball is snapped. So they've done a nice job. And again, with them not having to bring a lot of pressure to create pressure, it's really helped them on the back end.
How essential is Cade's pocket awareness in any game, but particularly in a game like this where you said the clock's ticking?
It'll be critical. He's got to go play quarterback, man, at a high level for us. This is a championship game. It's a state championship, and you usually don't win championships with average quarterback play. So he got to play well.
What's his status? Demonte Capehart for this?
He's didn't practice yesterday, but he's getting better. He's still day to day.
Any questions for Coach virtually? Anybody else in the room?
I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned this in the summertime, being with the new college football playoff and how it's set up. In a situation, if you were already in the ACC championship game and you had some questionable guys playing this week, how would you handle that situation? When it comes to sitting guys or stuff like that, being it is a rivalry, but at the same time, next week would be a huge game in that sense.
Yeah, and that scenario may come up for somebody where you're, I guess you'd be, let's just say, I guess you'd be 11-0. You'd probably be 11-0. You wouldn't be 9-2. But if you're 11-0 and you're in that game already next week, and you're in the game for sure. That's a question that I think probably is going to get answered somewhere out there. But I know for me, one of our goals, specific goals, season and goal of its own, is to win the state championship. So I'm going to try to go win the state championship, and play the game that's in front of you. So I just think that's a part of who we are here. But it'll be interesting. I could see that happening. You see that at all the pro levels, and it may get there. Because then all of a sudden, if you're playing, whoever, and let's just say that last game they're 4-7, right? And you got Trevor Lawrence out there, and he rolls his ankle. Now he's out, and we saw how that affected Florida State last year, right? So, people are probably mad. Well, why'd you play him? So it's, you see it in the pros all the time when they know they're in the playoff already, and they still got a game to play. They just don't play those guys. A lot of them. Some may play a few series just to kind of keep them in rhythm, but a lot of times they don't play them. But those are just. I hope I get that opportunity. I look forward to that. Sign me up for 11-0.
You see a lot of similarities with what Beamer has been doing in South Carolina, the way he's building his program, to the way you built here. You both were walk-on receivers at your respective schools. He hypes a lot. You hyped a lot when you were building your program, just trying to build up your players and build up the positivity around the program. Have you had a chance to kind of look at what he's done and see any similarities to what you did in your first 4 years in building this program?
The only thing I can tell you is I've known Shane way before he was the South Carolina coach. And, we've always been friends. I think, the biggest similarity is he believes in his players. He believes in his people. He's a positive, optimistic guy. I've always tried to be that way in my life, and and I think he's just a good person. He's got a great wife, just like I got a great wife. That's shout out to both of them, because trust me, he nor I would be where we are without those two. But as far as how they run their program and all that stuff, I'm not in tune to the inner workings of how he operates daily. I don't know all that. I just know he's a great guy and he's a good person, and I mean he's got a great perspective. Again, I think he believes in himself and he believes in his decisions and he believes in his people, and he's an optimistic guy. I think that's probably similarities, but I've always believed when I got this job, I mean, there's a lot of things that we hadn't done, and listen, I better believe in myself, because there wasn't a lot of belief in me outside of Terry Don Phillips and our president and our board. There wasn't a ton of belief, and there shouldn't be. I mean, it's not like I had some long track record, but I always had a lot of belief in myself, and I also think he's passionate about the job. He's passionate about what he does. He loves the job. He loves football. So do I. And he loves where he's doing it. So do I. So I think those are all similarities. But he's done a great job. I mean, he really has. I mean, he's done a really good job, and I'm happy for him.
Coach, Clemson has sent some emails out to people about the way that we're changing the NIL landscape, 110 society, how critical the next 7 months are, and then how critical it will be July 1. What are your thoughts on that? And in your words, how critical, is it right now?
Well, it's critical, but not a lot of people don't really, I think, understand kind of the dynamics of where we are right now. I've said many times. I mean, we're kind of in the fourth quarter. We're in the back 20% of insanity, and we've got some normalcy in this new world, coming, but rev share doesn't start till July 1. And so right now it's just wacky land. You can do anything you want, and it doesn't even have to make any sense. There's no real standard. And so what they're doing in the university is going to allow us to do what we need to do until we can get to rev share. Because right now we don't have rev share. There is no rev share. It's just NIL, which is just pay for play right now. And in the past, the 110, you didn't really have any benefits to give to 110 other than you're helping us, and that's been a challenge. That's just the reality of it. It's not going to be a challenge for the rev share. That's going to be a blessing. It's going to really, really be a difference maker for us, and but we got to get to July, and we're competing against a lot of big NIL schools, and that just IPTAY, people understand giving IPTAY and they get points and they get credit and all that stuff. Now it's worked out to where you still you're going to get all that, so it's critical to be able to that they've created this partnership to where you can get the points, you can get the credit, you can do all this, because it's the only way we're going to be able to compete between now and July, and so that's going to be important. Because you best believe you're gonna have some challenges, and we need to have rev share conversations now, not in July. We know what the number is. We know what the number is, and you can't spend a penny more, and you can't spend a penny less, and it's going to be third-party regulated, which is going to be really good, But it's each school and how you divide it up amongst your team, and that'll be based on what your roster looks like, right? I mean, if you got a big senior starter group back, well, obviously you're going to have most of your rev share in that group. And other guys, you got to spread it out as far as you can. And some years you guys have graduated and you're going to have more money maybe for acquisition. That's always part of it. But a situation like this year, where we don't have many spots, like we just don't have many. We don't have many spots, and we can't. You can't go to 105 in January. We don't have many spots. We have very few. And now again, maybe we'll have some guys leave that we don't know, and we create some spots. I don't know, but it's just where we are right now. We always anticipate a few guys maybe that want to play more that might move on, but but we need to be able to have conversations about what the rev share looks like now as opposed to July. And everybody's dealing with the same thing, but the NIL part's been a challenge, but now with being able to get points and all that, that's going to really help us between now and July. So we need everybody's support in that for sure, and it's what we got to do, to compete the way we need to compete till we get there.
Sorry. What you need also, I know you're saying until you get to the rev sharing, but also in certain situations thereafter as well, wouldn't that NIL be also important in that situation?
Yeah, but the NIL is going to be different come July. It's going to have to meet a standard. Right now, there's no standard. You just, hey Chappell, how you doing? And he can give me $20 million. There's no standard. But come July, there's going to have to be a standard, and that's why we went out and hired ESM. Y'all probably, I'm sure we've talked about that's one of the best sports marketing agencies in the entire country. I mean, and we pay the fee. And so that NIL will still be there, and it can stack on top of the rev share, but it has to meet a standard. And if it doesn't meet a standard, then you're going to get penalized, and they're going to take money from your rev share. So it's not just pay for play anymore. It's going to be true NIL. And again, it will have to meet an actual standard. And again, all third-party regulated, which I think is going to be really, really good for everyone. So, because not everybody, is going, like right now, I mean, anybody could get anything they want NIL-wise, but that will be different. So the rev share will be the critical piece, and the NIL will have to be meet a true standard. And again, there's a lot of regulation that's going to be coming about with that. So that'll be a positive, but it's not going away. It's going to change how it's managed.
Talk about a need for conversations. Do you have an idea of what percentage yet of the $20.5 million?
Yeah, ain't nobody gonna have more money than Clemson. Nobody. For the first time ever. That'll be good. That'll be good.
Scholarship-wise, do you know?
Scholarships are the same. They don't go away. The scholarship you're talking about. That's an institution decision, and there's still conversations that are happening in league offices and all that stuff. But everybody's going to 105, and it is what it is there. We've had plenty of conversation about that, and there's lots of flexibility with what you do with the 105 and how you use those scholarships, but. You could stay at 85 and rev share guys more. Everybody's going to be at 105 one way or another. Or you can just scholarship. The scholarship's a big deal. That's a big deal. So it'll be different. It'll be different for sure. But we got to make it work. I'm more focused on what do we do. Like to me, again, we've talked about the walk-on situation, and people don't understand like the challenges in college football that are so different from NFL, in that how you have to practice. We have a 20-hour rule. You have 17 hours Monday through Friday to get your team ready, and when you walk out on the practice field, you're really limited in your time, and so you have to be very efficient. And so that's why the walk-ons have always been so important, because you have scout teams, and now you're going to be really limited on your scout teams, and then your roster dwindles, injuries, stuff. And you can't just put anybody at left guard, right? And so. I'm hoping that, there will be maybe some changes that might come around somewhere along the way. Maybe we don't have to cut to 105 until the first game. That would be great. I don't know if that'll happen or not. I'm just spitballing pie in the sky here. That would be a great thing. So at least you then could at least have plenty of people that can practice, because there's kids all over this campus that want to be a part of your team. They do want to come practice. The women's basketball team, they got 6-7 guys that practice every day. That's what they do. They're students here, and they come serve their classmates. And I don't know why that's a problem. So my hope is, one, we don't have to declare the roster until like the first game, so at least you got bodies to get through camp. And then my other hope is if you lose 2 linemen, for example, and they're out for the year, and you had 18 on the roster, if you will, or whatever it was, man, I could send out an email to campus and say, we're looking for a couple of walk-on linemen to come practice. And they all show up, and we test them and weigh them and run them and say, all right, we'll take you 2. And they just come in your scout team. That way you can always be at that 105, And why is that a problem? As long as they're in school, as long as they're here, no great player. Sammy Watkins isn't going to come and just hang out on campus and wait for you to call him. Oh, okay, yeah. No, it's not. Nobody's stashing players. Here's your roster. But just like Jonathan White's last year, or let's just say your kicker got in a bad car wreck and he's out for the year. You mean to tell me we can't have a kicker try out and be able to add a guy? To me, there's just a lot of those things that need to be worked out because we don't have access to any players, right? Like in the NFL, if you've got 8 linemen, you never go below 8 linemen. If you lose a guy, you just go get a guy off somebody's practice squad and bring him in. Or you bring a guy in on Tuesday and try him out and he plays on Saturday. We don't have access to players. Again, you can't go get somebody from the algebra class over here and bring him in and put him in the algebra class here. It doesn't work that way. So to me, at a minimum, if we're going to be 105 and we manage that, we need to be able to stay there. If you lose a guy, we should be able to add somebody, whether it's a practice squad or whatever, and they're not on the team, but just a group of guys that we could, all these kids we're cutting that are going to stay in school that would love to come and practice, which is what they do every day anyway. Why is that a problem? I don't know why that would be a problem. As long as, again, so you kind of, I don't know, maybe it's an IR, maybe it's, okay, this guy's out 2 weeks, so you can come practice 2 weeks. You're a scout team guy, whatever. And then you just, we need some flexibility there. We're not there yet. I'm just making stuff up here.
Has there been any talk about going forward? Is it going to be year to year with the players, or can they leave in the year?
Yeah, and again, those are all things too that are problems for coaches big time. I mean, again, we're getting ready to go into a playoff, postseason, hopefully opportunity. I mean, South Carolina could get in the playoff. There's a lot of things at stake, and next week guys can just pack up and leave. And it's not that they want to, it's just the way the system is set up is they have to if they want to go and try to get somewhere in January. And it's just crazy. Like the NFL has free agency, when is that, March? Is it March? They don't do it in November. They don't do it in December. But we got finals. We got portal opening up. I love the early signing period. I think that's great because I think it helps it helps the high school kids. It gets those kids signed before that portal opens up, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, that guy's in the portal. Hey, and they call this little high school kid and say, hey, man, I'm sorry, I don't have a spot for you now. And he's been committed all year. That's sad, but that's what happens in a lot of places. And so I love the fact that that's on a different date, so those kids can get signed. But to me, there should just be one portal window, and it's in the spring, and you're done with it. And you at least know what you got. And again, that's another reason I wish they'd just do 5 years. So you get rid of this 4-game stuff, and then all of a sudden guys play 4 games. They know they're going in the portal, so they're not going to play anymore the rest of the year. As opposed to if you had 5 years, they would all play, and continue to get tape even if they're leaving. It's okay. And a lot of it's good. Listen, I'm glad these guys got an opportunity to go, but what's been created, we've just made it so easy, and it's created conflicts that if we had just a little more common sense, we could fix it. But it's where we are right now, and I hate it for the guys. I really do. But that's the system that's set up.
On the policing fair market value, do you think it's realistic that that's not just going to end up right back in court when somebody tells Chapel you can't give Dabo this much money because it's fair market? I mean, how do you even define it?
I have no idea. That was all part of the settlement. I guess in 10 years they'll figure it out. I don't know. But it's a 10-year settlement, and gajillion dollars was spent on the settlement, and there's a settlement, and there's two sides, and this is what they agreed to. I don't know. And it's not the NCAA that's regulating it. It's a third party, just like the NFL has a third party that manages this stuff. And if you're a penny over or a penny under, you got a problem. And then if you've got NIL over here and it's not meeting a standard, then there's going to be some issues. I don't know that all that, how the, I don't know how the big bad wolf's going to manage. I don't know, but that's what's out there, and I'm sure there's still some things they're trying to figure out. And then again, there's a timeline, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of lawsuits over anything that happens every day. But I don't know.
You said that you never wanted to be in a situation where the players were getting paid.
I did not say that. Never said that. Never said that. Never said that. You said I don't want to be a part of a professionalization of college athletics.
Well, I think your words
No
were
scholarship, get away from a scholastic
find something
model.
else to do, I think was your quote, that is a
No.
very popular quote.
No.
That they got paid.
No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. I said not the professionalization, which would mean we do away with scholastic, the scholastic part of college. That's what I said. That's what somebody wrote. That's what people like to put out there. It ain't never been what I said.
My question is just, are you comfortable?
I love it.
Are you
I
more
love it.
comfortable with the
I
way
think
it
it's
is?
great because we've kept a scholastic model. Because 98% of these guys aren't playing professional sports, and they're going to be done with football when they're like 23. And it's awesome because they're going to have an opportunity. We have more opportunity than we've ever had to help prepare them for what's next. Just like that's always been a focus for ours. But now we got to have a little bit more hands-on opportunity. Stuff we've always done from a financial literacy, tax education. Now you got some real opportunity, and I still see it as our responsibility to prepare them for what's coming next, and so that they're not a statistic. We've always taken pride in that, as we've built, men through this program and equipped them through this program. We've always taken pride. Now you got real opportunity to do that and help them maximize that. But we know 98% of these guys aren't going to play professional athletics. So we need to help them maximize the opportunity, but we need to do it in a way that when they're 26, 27, 28, they're not looking back going, God, I didn't have anybody around me that was giving me good counsel, guidance. Like, we're going to have financial planners in here twice a week. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to really teach these guys. Real skills, and stuff that we've always done, but now you got some hands-on opportunity. But we're not going away from a scholastic model. They got to go to class. We're in the education business. I know that's not a popular. Nobody wants to talk about that. But I wouldn't be here doing this job if I didn't have my education. I could have been the greatest football player in the history of football. I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't have my degree.
That's time for one more. I know Pete Yannity's trying to get in virtually. Pete, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, just to elaborate, you said earlier Clemson will have more money than other schools. Just a couple of things.
I didn't say that either. I said nobody's going to have more money than Clemson.
Okay, no one's going to have more money than Clemson, but just kind of detail what gives you the confidence in that, and then how does that impact now how you go out and recruit in this era of reports of the various things we hear about $10 million quarterbacks and so forth?
Yeah, well, again, there's going to be some order. There's a cap. I mean, it's all been negotiated, and there's a percentage that it goes up every year. This is not stuff I made up. It is what it is. So, yeah, you can give whatever you want. You can give all your rev share to one player if you want to, but then nobody else gets a dime. As far as the rev share part, for the first time, we will be able to, because everything has been just an NIL thing. Now it's going to be rev share. We've always had the money at Clemson. We just haven't been able to share it, and so now we can. And there's a cap, and it goes up a little bit, and you decide how you're going to split it up, and your roster and the makeup of your roster will determine how that goes. If you got a fourth-year quarterback coming, that's a 3-year starter, well, you best believe he's going to do pretty good, right? It's just the way it is. And if you've got a sophomore quarterback who's unproven, he's probably not going to do as well as that fourth-year guy. It just because you might have a fourth-year left tackle that you got more money into. Those are decisions that you have to make year to year, but everybody will have the same money. And when I say nobody's going to have more money than Clemson, that's because of the commitment from our administration. You know, because if you understand the lawsuit, the settlement, there's a pile of money, and that's for everyone, right? So it's a local decision on how schools divide that up. They could give football 5% if they're at a school, and they could give basketball 95% or baseball 95%. They could divide it up how they want. That's a university deal. But at Clemson, you know, I mean, we're going to be as good as anybody out there. Nobody will have more money than what we will have the opportunity. So that's a good thing. That's a positive.
All right, we've got Blake Miller on deck, so we'll wrap up, Coach.
I appreciate it.
In just a moment. Thank you all.
Happy Thanksgiving.